yaga ambeyang, yaga iyonga, yingagara nora, yingagara ilambai, inja Anaiwan yuna, inja balguljoin.
To think that our ancestors and forefathers walked this country, and it's like as if they're in the wind, and it's just a nice place to be. It's, I feel very proud to be on this land.
We're on the edge of Gera Gorge.
Today, I'm being taken onto the high country on the outskirts of Armidale in northern New South Wales.
The gorge country is where a lot of our people were pushed after they were driven off the tableland proper by the massive influx of colonists and livestock. And the gorge country was where the resistance continued even up into the 1860s, where our people continued to base themselves in somewhat of a refuge from colonisation, and would continue to come up onto the tableland and raid stations, seize livestock.
Understanding what happened in this place during and after the frontier wars has become the key to reawakening a language embedded in the country.
Being here on the New England, we were amongst the first people to lose our language. And with our language, we also lost our culture and our food and our music and our dance and our law. We lost our identity.
There were both non-Aboriginal people and people in our own community asking the question of, like, why is our language worse off? Why is it that we haven't had speakers of our language for decades and decades? It wasn't a matter at all of our ancestors valuing our language and cherishing our language any less than any other people's. It was simply a matter of circumstances. Circumstances brought about by the extremely rapid and intense colonisation of the tableland, where you had hundreds and thousands and then millions of livestock flooding our country within the first few decades of the colonial occupation, and thousands and then tens of thousands of colonists flooding into the region.
By the early 1900s, local Aboriginal people were speaking more English than Anaiwan, and the only recordings kept were in the diaries and journals of colonists and anthropologists.
I was looking at the work that had already been done, and my thought was, like, this doesn't do our people justice.
So in 2016, a group of determined traditional owners started from scratch.
Hello, I'm Bradley Witters, and today I'm asking for your support to help in the restoration and revitalisation of the Anaiwan language.
In just 3 years, the Anaiwan Language Revival Program has held talks, published a brief history on the colonisation of their country, and begun work on the first Anaiwan dictionary and grammar book.
Kargana, Mugung, Lenyang, Rulurugara, Naya, Mbonda. This document contains the largest amount of vocabulary material that we have.
Give it more support. I think we should be looking at language, Aboriginal language and history, the true culture of this country, being taught in schools at the start. We should have degrees in universities around Aboriginal history, real Aboriginal history, the real truth.
What was you doing? Eh? Playing outside.
After more than a century of sleeping, the Anaiwan language is waking up.
Nyanga, Inja, Rogala, Mwanda, Ronyera, Inja. Okay, who wants to have a go?
Me.
Having a language helps answer the question, why am I Aboriginal? Because lots of people know they're Aboriginal, but why? What is it that makes a person Aboriginal? If you've got language, you know, you've got identity.
And now that language can finally be returned to the country it comes from.
Callum, why is it so important that for you language revival is connected to the story of this country?
So we often talk about repatriation in terms of ancestral remains and artefacts and that, but we're talking about repatriation of language as well, because it's been, just like our people were ripped away from country and culture, so was our language. So I guess we're putting our language back into its proper place in country, in community and in culture.